One thing I know all too well is that feeling of putting in a ton of work with aim, feeling the excitement of going into a Valorant game with high expectations, and then playing like you've never touched the mouse before. Many times, it feels like no matter how much effort you put into aim training, you just can't seem to see progress, and you keep missing when it matters. What's up, ProGuides fam? It's Royal G, and this feeling I'm describing is something I've felt on multiple occasions during my whole FPS journey. Even now, I sometimes wonder if aim training actually helps me, or if I'm just doing it for some glorified warm-up. So today, I'm going to talk about this age-old problem of feeling like your aim doesn't transfer, and give you some insight on why this happens, and how you can start to see more progress with your aim. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's jump right into it. So to start things off, one of the biggest issues we run into as we train aim is the sense of progress. Without a good measure of progress, it's hard to feel accomplished after a lot of hard work if there's nothing to show for it. That's why when you train your aim, you run into situations where you're feeling like you lack something to show. And if you're not aware of it, then the next best place to see results is to go in game and win. But as we all know, ranked games isn't the most consistent environment for getting better, and you also run into other problems that can affect your gameplay like tilt or toxicity. Obviously, that just makes things worse, and if you end up losing, you'll feel like all your hard work was wasted, and maybe you even regressed somehow. So what's the solution here? Well, the first step is to be aware that this is something that can actively mess with your progress. If you know that progress is hard to see and you can accept it, then you won't have weird existential crises in the middle of ranked games where you wonder if all your hard work was for nothing. You kind of just have to trust in the process and know that you're always improving, even if it doesn't quite feel like it. The next thing that could help is to find some way to track your progress more conclusively. For example, if you use AimLab, you can keep track of your scores and see if you can break your high scores or see if your average score is improving. Or you can see if any of these diagnostics on your weaknesses have improved to see if you fix some issues with your aim. Honestly, AimLab does a lot of goal setting work for you, so it's a pretty good idea to use that to your advantage to document your improvement. And if it wasn't apparent to you by now, yes, I recommend you use AimLab. Not only does it have the best tools to improve your aim, it's also got a whole lot of metrics for you to see the progress that's not always visible in ranked. Click the link in the description if you haven't downloaded it yet, and give it a go. So now you've downloaded AimLab, or you've been training on AimLab for a while. You're getting better and better, and you can see the progress visibly through their interfaces. But you still run into problems when you enter a game, because you feel like you're just not aiming well. You're missing shots, and you're losing confidence in the process. Why is that exactly? Well, this is one of the controversial things that is the reason why a lot of players tend to avoid aim trainers as a whole. And that's the argument that aim trainers aren't practical for in-game situations. The scenarios aren't realistic, and you're not improving in the right areas. I'm here to tell you that people who say this are technically correct, but are also sorely misguided in many ways as well. Let me explain. You know how it's kind of hard to switch between different FPS games, right? For example, my aim in Valorant is at a Radiant level, and I am very confident in game, but if I went to Apex Legends, I'll lose fights left and right, not only because my game sense sucks in Apex, but also because I'm genuinely missing shots that a top 500 player in another game shouldn't. So what's the deal with that? Well, the movement and aiming styles definitely affect your aim a ton, and if you're playing a lot of aim labs to practice, the movement and aim that's practical in Valorant is going to not feel immediately comfortable. It's very normal, but that doesn't mean it's not useful either. Like, my aim might not translate specifically from Valorant to Apex, but I sure as heck am not going to be silver in Apex. My aim is still a backbone of my ability, and that means I'll be able to improve faster and be able to adapt more easily to a new environment, even if it's not immediately the case. Which is why I think aim training is much more like going to the gym. When you go to the gym, you're building up your muscles through repetitive drills and practices. But just because you have muscles doesn't mean you're going to be good at, say, soccer. At the same time though, if you don't have muscles, you can't really be that great of a soccer player. So you can either play so much soccer that you end up building the necessary muscles, or you go to the gym and build up the muscles and then make use of them to play soccer better. And if you want proof that one method is better than the other, you can take a look at pretty much every pro athlete in the world and come to a pretty quick and easy conclusion. Going to the gym is pretty damn important. It's pretty much the same thing with aim training and trainers like AimLab. Your aim is going to improve greatly, which is to say your mouse control is going to be much better. But that doesn't mean you're going to play better immediately. You still need to transfer that mouse control to Valorant and make it work for you. Sure, playing ranked a ton can improve your aim along with your game sense, but the rate of improvement is much slower. Even if it doesn't seem immediately apparent, training aim is much better than DMing for hours on end, especially with Valorant's deathmatch servers. Now for the question of the day, what's your current routine? Lately, I've been a little swamped with work, so I try to just get like 15 to 20 minutes in every day before I sleep, but normally I try to get a solid 30 minutes to an hour of aim training after playing ranked games. It also helps that I play with a team, so I'm constantly flexing my aim muscles daily to stay on track. But let me know what your routine looks like in the comments below. One other thing that can definitely hurt your progress and can be something people run into often is lacking consistency in training. Don't get me wrong, if you were to compare not practicing at all with a bit of practice every now and then, I'd choose a bit of practice any day. If you want to see real progress and a steady growth, you'll definitely want to one-up your training and make it a routine. Sometimes it might feel really good to spend an hour or two doing solid aim training, but you won't really see many results out of it. The reason this is the case is because you don't have a lot of chances to check for progress along the way, and you're hoping that your aim magically levels up like it's an RPG game with stat growths. In reality, you probably did improve like it's an RPG game with stats, but since you trained a bunch and had nothing to compare your before and after to, you have literally no idea whether you improved or not in the first place. Pair this with that part where you entered a ranked game and end up getting troll teammates, and you quickly lose any chance of seeing that you've actually improved, and it'll feel as if nothing changed at all. And then your confidence gets shattered, and then you'll lose motivation, and then you'll be sad and stop training your aim. Another thing to note is that consistency is also proven to be the best way to improve as well. Instead of a giant 3-hour block of aim training per week, splitting it into bite-sized chunks of 30 minutes over 6 different days is much more effective simply because it gives your brain time to take it all in. Just like how cramming for that test the night before doesn't help you very much in retaining any of the information the day after the test, training a bunch at once is pretty inefficient because it doesn't give your body enough time to turn it into muscle memory. So yeah, consistency isn't just for tracking progress, but it's also more efficient overall. Which also leads to another point that is pretty important to note, which is the fact that fatigue can really mess with your aim in game as well as how quickly you improve too. In relation to the last point about efficiency, if you train for like 3 hours at once, you'll probably get like 1 hour of good training in, then like another hour and a half of lukewarm training, and then 30 minutes of you just screwing around and just doing whatever. Believe it or not, your body has limits. And after an hour of good training, your hand is probably crying uncle to go out and touch some grass or something. You don't want to practice in fatigue because it's just not going to help you as much even if you put in more time. Instead, if you practice like 30 minutes every day, you can get 30 solid minutes of good aim training every day and turn that original 3 hours of kind of okay training into 3 hours of solid training over time, with good muscle memory that also tracks your progress more. Like, is that not just objectively way better? Just knowing that, in my opinion, is what keeps me training regularly, even if it's for small increments rather than just randomly cram a ton of training in. It's simply just better. Another way fatigue can mess with your progress is tied to playing after putting in some solid effort training. If you expended that 1 hour of good training and then enter a game, you're not going to be playing at your 100%. As much as you think you're supposed to be better, your hand just won't feel the same, and it's not because you're now 10's disciple. Your hand is tired, and that's going to affect the shots you take. Factor in self-awareness, and you'll just play with low confidence because you know your aim isn't at its best at the moment. So fatigue can also make you miss progress in that way as well. To close this out, I just want to say that even if this stuff is sort of self-explanatory and not necessarily some cool new scientific discovery, being self-aware of what holds you back is a big part of breaking past your limits. As people say, knowing is half the battle. And hopefully this video served to help you guys contextualize that in a way that helps you improve in the long term. Anyways, that pretty much wraps up the video. Let me know if this helped, and also let me know of any feedback you have. I read every comment and I'd love to know how I can improve. It's been Royal G, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.